Let the spirits guide your swing. That hammer, this hammer was a gift from a friend. And he wrote that on there because I told him a story about when I was building on an old Coast Salish village site. And I accidentally stumbled into a grave. And I had weird spirit experiences like ghosts. Okay? I consulted different elders in the different tribes. And I'm going to break down that story to you right now. Let's get into it. So I was building a boat access only remote off-grid site, kind of in the Cowichan Bay area. And I didn't realize it, but I was building on an old Coast Salish village site, okay? And that area is a very spiritual area for the Coast Salish people, probably because there's a bunch of quartz crystal underground, okay? So I started working there, and it's important to know that my friend passed away that summer. He fell off a ladder. I'm not gonna talk too much about him. His name's Graham, but it's important to know that. Okay, so I start working on this site. I'm working alone for a long time. Then I had this guy, Dan, come work with me. Dan was a very young man, but there's something about him that made him feel like very wise to me, like an old soul. He was religious, but not in a way, sometimes religious people come off as judgy. He came off as wise to me, okay? So we're working out there, and I just start having these like weird feelings, like almost like this weird state of consciousness, or like a shift. Something was shifting in me, and I felt this like at times like presence, which is hard to explain, right? Like kind of like if there was a cougar behind me, I would know it, right? Like I would feel it. Somewhere in my evolution, in our evolution, we have this ability to sense behind us, right? And you would know if there's like a cougar or a predator behind us, behind me, right? I would maybe get goosebumps. I would take a look, right? And I started having feelings like that out there. But it felt like of the spiritual nature, right? And then one day I was just like, you know what? Okay, this is what's happening now. I wasn't spiritual at all. And I was just like, okay, is this what's happening? Give me a sign. And I don't know who I was talking to. I was like trying to reach out to my friend Graham, or maybe God, or spirit, or the land, or whatever, right? And then that night I went home, drove my boat, got in the car, went home. And then it was like getting close to a full moon. And that night I looked at the moon, and there was like this feather, a cloud that looked like a feather. I was like, okay, cool. So then I go down to my boat, and the next day to go to work, and there's a feather waiting at my boat, okay? And we're just getting started here. So, and I think spirit talks through things that defy the odds, okay? So then I go down and go to site. Dan's working with me. I sneak away for a bit, and I go, because I remember the old lady I was building for, she said there was like this cave that was like somehow maybe connected to Coast Salish people or something. And I was like, okay, I don't know, magical cave, let's check it out, right? And I think really ultimately my intention was I was reaching out to my friend who had passed away, and I was like trying to reach out to be like, dude, if I can connect to spirit, like I'll listen, or I'll connect, like, I don't know, maybe I can do this, you know, like you hear of these psychics or intuitives, like maybe I can do that. I don't know, I would do that for you, right? So I think my intention going up was to connect with my friend. So I went up into it, and the point of this video is to spread awareness, right? We need to learn to respect sacred land, right? Or grave sites or things like that, right? There could be cairns, which is like piles of rocks that create a grave site, or it could be boulder falls or caves. And I didn't know anything about this. I was just a dumb gringo, right? So it is important to learn how to respect sacred land, old village sites, grave sites, things like that. So I went up to a cave, sat in the cave, and in my mind's eye, I felt like I saw something enter, and there was feathers, okay? And I was cool with it. I am a person who likes intense experiences. What can I say? And as I sat there, I like reached out and I was like motioned, like, go ahead, like sit. Like I was like welcoming, right? And then I started to feel like this like tapping on my leg. It was myself. I started tapping on my leg like a drum, like a primitive drum beat, like you would maybe a shamanic drum, okay? Then I got stuck in sleep paralysis. Like I was awake, but I was like almost paralyzed. I couldn't move. And the rocks, the boulders, the cave that I was in, it was like basically like river rocks that were like cast in lava and creating big boulders in the cave. And then I was looking at one of them and it looked like a skull. And then I started to think like, oh, this is catacombs. This is a gravesite, maybe. This is where there's remains, okay? And then from that point, I was like, uh-oh, what did I do? I might be somewhere I shouldn't be. And then it's a beautiful, you know, there's cliffs, this amazing forest, oaks and arbutus and boulders and just like the most picturesque forest you can imagine. And like there was like clouds and they parted and the sun was coming through the forest and it made what looked like a portal, right? There was like a boulder and a tree and it was like making this thing that looked like a door. And at this point I kind of like stopped being like feeling like paralyzed and I was like, I should go check that out maybe, and maybe I shouldn't be in this cave. And so I went, and as I went to it, there was like a deer like ran off, okay? And then as I approached it, it just looked different, and I turned around and looked at the cave, and it looks like there's stairs going up the cave. And so I go and start walking up, and there's like a hole that looks into the cave, I can see into it, and then I feel like it's leading me up this cliff, and then I start to have this feeling like I feel incredibly lost, and I don't get that feeling very often. So I'm like, what am I doing, man? I should be working anyway. Like I need to stop this. And so I start walking back to the site to build where we're building, and I come across for the first time a 20-foot boulder with an old wooden ladder leaning up against it. And I start to cry because I'm like triggered. I'm like thinking about my friend who passed away, who fell off a ladder, Graham. And so I'm like, okay, shake that off. I go down to site. As soon as I get down to site, there's a dead sparrow. Okay, so now this is 4 coincidences so far with birds and feathers, okay? I see it and I read it as an omen. Like something in me has to change, okay? I build, and then like the next day, I think, I'm going home from work, and it's the super moon, and it's my friend Graham's birthday, and I go home, and as I walk into my front door, there's a peacock at my door, a real peacock, okay? And it's trying to get in my house. And so I'm like, I kind of make a joke of it, like trying to invite this peacock in my house. It goes away. But that night, I was having dinner with my wife and my buddy Marco, but after everyone went to bed, I had this, like, if I didn't start to heal myself and get better, because I was kind of drowning, I had grief and I was kind of drowning it, and like drinking and smoking pot and things like that. And I had this feeling like if I don't start to heal myself, spirit is gonna fuck me up, okay? Like something about it. And that was like the moment, that was like the beginning of a very long healing journey for me. But I go to work the next day, and this is Dan's last week, okay? I go to work the next day, and I'm just drawn to this cave. Like, why did I have that experience in there? Am I supposed to do something? Am I maybe not supposed to work there? And so I go up there, and I'm like, I think I was like, in a sense, like worried about what I had done, and like felt like I should ask for forgiveness or mercy or something. Like I felt like it might have been a gravesite, and I don't know anything, and I just wanted to like show respect that I didn't mean to like disturb anything. And so I walk up to that cave, and as I approach it, there's a deer, and it's standing in the cave, and it's staring at me, and I get this feeling of death, and it's staring right at me, and it's like flicking a fly with its ear, and its eyes are black, like blacked out, and it looks like it could kill me. Like, I've never seen a deer look at me like that. And so from that moment, I'm like, I'm not going in the cave. And so I surrendered, and I sat next to a tree in like a cross-legged meditative position and closed my eyes, and I was just like asking for mercy and asking for forgiveness. And after I was done doing that, I walk down to the ladder and the boulder, and I start shaking the ladder. And I was talking to my buddy Graham, who passed away, and I was like, I don't know, man, you tell me what to do. Because I felt like in this position, like I was supposed to help his family or do things, but at the same time, it was stirring up so much stuff from my childhood, because there's like, I'm not going to get into it too much, but like childhood trauma, domestic violence, all this stuff. And his death and that trauma sparked all this stuff from my childhood, and it became this a Freudian thing, right? And so I was talking to my buddy Graham, like shaking this old ladder that's leaning up against the boulder in this like magical forest, okay? Then I go down to site, and then there's like one more day, and Dan is not going to be working there anymore, and I'm going to be alone. And on that day, in the last hour, I told Dan, like, I just didn't know. I kind of wanted to see how he approached that cave in that area, and see if I'm nuts or see if anything's off or whatever. So I invited him to go check it out, and he was keen to go. We start hiking up there, and as soon as we get up near it, he starts smiling, like the biggest smile I've ever seen. He totally changed. He's usually very quiet. He gets up there, he starts really elevating in a way. And he checks out the cave. As he goes to check it out, I go check out where I was sitting when I was asking for mercy, and there's an eagle feather there, okay? So I take that, and after he's done looking at the cave, we walk down to the ladder and the boulder. And as I approach it, I always have big emotions around it, so I let him go first. And as he comes around me and walks towards it, he's like, hey, look, an eagle feather. So he picks that up. Then he's like, have you ever climbed the cave? So he climbs the cave, have you climbed the ladder? He climbs up the ladder, and I'm like, oh man. And then I feel like I should go. So I take the eagle feather, I stick it in my hat, I climb up it. We're like 20 foot on this big boulder. We're standing there and just like looking at this amazing forest. And we're just like imagining this boulder rolling down the hill or falling off the cliff. And behind us we hear, and then boom, and this branch fell off a tree, like broke off a tree, and bam, hits the ground. And we're both looking at each other like, whoa. And so I climb down the ladder first, and I hold the ladder while he's coming down. And it felt like healing. It felt like spirit was trying to heal me in a way, okay? So then we start walking down to leave, and he just looks at me and he goes, I don't know how to explain this to you. God is a vibe, right? And I just accept what he said. And I'm not trying to sell anything here, right? I'm spiritual. I have my different modalities and things I'm into. I believe in perennial wisdom, where all religions lead to God or source or Brahma or Allah or whatever, unified field or whatever you want to call it, right? I'm not selling anything in particular, other than maybe that you're a spirit and an earth body. But so that weekend, I go and I call my friend Eric, who works for parks, and he's connected in these communities, and I say, dude, I think I did something. I think I need to talk to an elder, right? And so he hooks me up with somebody in the Cowichan tribes. I remember I was in Tofino on a surf trip, and I called the guy, and I was like, this is what I had done. And he says right away, he says, I've had good experiences and I've had bad experiences.
and they can fucking kill you. And I was like, oh man. He's like, don't go back, right? And I was like, well, I'm building a house there. And so I had to decide whether I was just going to quit my job right there or go back. And then I had in my mind, like, it has to tell me not to build there, right? And so I go back now alone because Dan's gone. He went to chase a girl that he's now married to. I'm alone. I go back to site. I'm like, I'm not going to go to the cave, but you know what was there? A deer. There's this one little cabin, and it went and it lied under that cabin for 3 days staring at me. Okay? And I became in this like heightened sense of consciousness where I was just like trying to feel out whether I should be there or not, and trying to decide if I should quit. And I was just hyper alert because I was worried for my safety. And this story is very long. It led me on a healing journey, but I ended up consulting over my time there a traditional gravedigger in the Cowichan tribes, and my boss was talking to the chief of the Wusanich Nation, and we were trying to figure out what to do. And yeah, there's more to this story, but that's kind of the more intense part of that story that I thought I'd share, that it's important that we try to learn how to listen to spirit. And that experience helped to push me. That, with a few other coincidences, ended up pushing me on this amazing healing journey where I ended up finding this woman who's a normal counselor, like has her master's and everything, but also tapped into shamanism and IOPT. And a bunch of my friends have gone there too, and a bunch of us are on a similar kind of healing journey. So I thought I'd just share this with you. And if you've had experiences like this, if you believe in this stuff, comment below and subscribe if you're into this. Yeah, cheers.